Hi everyone, thank you very much for having me this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. EPA, to some it's a bit of a mystery, so I thought we might start with just a little bit of background. The EPA, as you probably know, came about as a result of the National Government's first 100 days, and there were amendments made in 2009 to the Resource Management Act that provided for the establishment of the Environmental Protection Authority as a statutory office within the Ministry for the Environment. And really at this point in time, so we're talking phase 1 of the EPA, the principal function is to centralise and streamline the decision-making process relating to nationally significant proposals. So we're talking about some of the large types of things that you might see happening around the place. For example, transmission going to Wellington is an example of something that would be coming through the EPA process or is intended to be. And there was a new part of the Act called Part 6AA, which establishes procedures for proposals of national significance. Just to talk a little bit about EPA Phase 2, and I'm sure you're aware, the Phase 1 of the EPA was always intended to be a transitional arrangement, and the government, as part of considering what it might do next with the Resource Management Act, has also been considering EPA Phase 2. And there was a recent Cabinet decision that the EPA is to be a Crown entity rather than a statutory office of the Ministry for the Environment. So we will be in fact separating from the Ministry and becoming a Crown entity similar to the types of ACC or ERMA. And that Phase 2 will combine our current functions with the ERMA functions, so the HASNO functions that ERMA looks after, and also the new functions that the Ministry of Economic Development looks after for the emissions trading scheme. They're registry functions where they maintain the register so they can operate the scheme. And also there's potential for the proposed EEZ legislation or exclusive economic zone legislation to also come into the EPA. That legislation would control from the 12-mile limit to international waters. Currently we don't have any legislation in place that has any boundaries around it like the RMA, so it's a concern for the government at the moment as far as things like the BP oil spill goes and how we might manage that. And there are a range of other legislative functions that are likely to come into the EPA. There's the likes of the Stockholm Conventions, the Antarctic Act, and some of those other perhaps less significant functions that might come across. And there's also obviously a lot of discussion around other parts of environmental governance that might come into the EPA, although these are the things that were specifically mentioned in the announcement made after Cabinet. But tonight I am going to speak to you primarily about EPA 1 because EPA 2 is very much in its infancy. So, who are we? Well, at the moment, Dr. Paul Reynolds, who is the Secretary for the Environment and Chief Executive of the Ministry for the Environment, is also responsible and delegated the powers from the Minister to look after the EPA. And within the Ministry for the Environment, there's me, the Manager Consenting, and I look after what's called the Consenting Team, and we hold all of the current functions for the current version of the EPA. So all of the Phase 1 functions for the EPA sit within my team, and I look after those. I have team members in Auckland in the office that's shared with the Ministry for the Environment and MD in Auckland, obviously in Wellington and our head office, and in Christchurch. And so Wellington is our head office at the Kate Shepherd Place, the Environment House, with the rest of the Ministry for the Environment. And we started with 6 staff on the 1st of October when we came into being. We now have 18 full staff located across those offices. We have 2 senior planners in in Auckland, and we have a project leader in Christchurch. Our structure is based on a project management structure, so for every proposal that comes into us, we have a project leader, senior consenting advisors, consenting advisors, and project admin, and we run a Prince2 project methodology approach to our projects. Okay. All right. Probably what's caused us the most confusion is the difference between the EPA process and what we've traditionally known as call-in. And in fact, a lot of people will say, oh yes, it's been called in through the EPA. In fact, they're two different processes. So basically, call-in works when an application is lodged with the local authority and the local authority, the applicant, or for whatever reason the minister, has it come to his attention that perhaps it needs some intervention from him, and call-in is one of the minister's interventions under the Act. Presently, because we sit within the ministry and we are also the consenting team for the ministry, we do work on call-ins, but we wear the Ministry for the Environment hat. As part of the sorting out of who gets what, if you like, of the powers, those call-in powers probably come across to the EPA or move. That's different to the EPA in the sense that you can lodge matters directly with us. So you can lodge applications for a number of things directly with the EPA without having had to go through a call-in process. And we make a recommendation to the Minister for the Environment on how they should be handled. So basically, our recommendation needs to be about three things really. Whether or not it's a proposal or part of a proposal of national significance, and whether or not the application should come down the EPA track and be decided by a board of inquiry or the Environment Court, or whether it should go back to the local authority to be processed. So we may not necessarily process everything that's lodged with us if the Minister was to decide that it wasn't applicable. So that's the difference. So looking at currently our functions are obviously to look after applications for resource consent, requests for a regional plan but not a coastal plan, requests for a plan change, whether that's through a council or privately, variations to resource consent, also to plan changes, and notices of requirement for new or changes to designations and for heritage orders. So we have a number of functions. Wearing our consenting team hat, we also assist with the administration of boards of inquiry for things like NPSs and national policy statements. So we've recently done work for the Freshwater Board, the Freshwater NPS, and also for the Renewable NPS. So we get involved. Alright, so eligibility for our process. If you wanted to come to the EPA, the main criteria is that your application must be in whole or in part a proposal of national significance. And to be upfront about that, there are a number of factors, and you really only have to meet one of those. It's not a meet all of them, it's meet this one or that one. So oftentimes proposals will meet more than one, and that's fine, but proposals that also just meet one would be fine as well. The same tests apply for call-in. When the Minister is looking to call something in, he must consider whether or not they're proposals of national significance as well. I'm sure being from Canterbury, you're all aware of the Mackenzie cows call-in, and that was a test that the Minister had to apply. So what factors of national significance were relevant to the Mackenzie dairying proposals, and why should they be called in? So those factors. Certainly when the Mackenzie cows were looked at, we looked at the factors of national significance, particularly around widespread public concern or interest. And at the moment we also have an application in for a geothermal power station. For that we looked at the factor of national significance for significant use of natural and physical resources, but also New Zealand's international obligations to the global environment, looking at the Kyoto Protocol. And when we're making those assessments, we do ask applicants to provide for us some reasoning as to why they think their proposal may be nationally significant or part of a proposal of national significance. And we provide that guidance to the Minister, and we also provide our own guidance in terms of what we consider the factors may be for national significance. It's fair to say that at the moment the test is robust, but it's not, we don't need to create a large report on whether something is nationally significant or not. It's reasonably straightforward in terms of making that assessment. So there are some other factors just over the page, some of which were added in 2009 during the amendment time. And in particular, if you're thinking about transmission gully, you might be thinking around things that relate to things that extend to one district or beyond one district or more. So there are a number of factors that we do need to consider. So I guess the question is, and it's certainly something that's being asked around the traps, and there's various views about this, about why would you use an EPA process? I'll talk further about the process, but I guess one of the reasons may be that decisions on proposals must be made 9 calendar months after the Minister's direction is notified. So that means that we have to go through an accelerated process whereby we get the Board of Inquiry together, we notify the Minister's direction, submissions are called for within 20 working days, and from then we have this period of 9 months, and 8 months once submissions come in, to process a proposal of national significance, and that's a pretty big test for us. We're in the middle of our first one at the moment. It does make things tight, and we certainly try to be as organised as possible in order to achieve that. We do have the option of the Minister extending the timeframe, doubling the timeframe to 18 months. But we don't start with that premise in mind, and it certainly, I think, would be a reasonably firm negotiation if we were to be looking for that extension. So we start with the 9 months in mind, and that's what we work to. Right, so, thank you. Because of that, we have an emphasis on the pre-lodgement process. The reason being that we have to get things right basically when they come in the door, rather than being a situation where we've got a lot of information requests going in and out, because the clock doesn't stop for us with information requests once we get to the Board of Inquiry process. So if we need further information, all that has to happen within that 9-month time frame. So we do aim within the pre-lodgement process to make Section 88 and 92 checks a formality. How do we do that? We work with our applicants and get their agreement to do a process of peer review during pre-lodgement. So we're doing a bit of a gap analysis of the application at that time, looking at where it might be fundamentally flawed, significant lack of information, things that perhaps haven't been covered that may well have needed to be. And we also engage the local authorities to help us as well, because we do have all of our staff, except for our project administrators, our trained planners, but it's fair to say that we can't possibly know the ins and outs and intricacies of every council's district or regional plan. And so we do rely on an amount of help from local authorities, should they choose to be involved with us. So it's not compulsory. There's only one compulsory part of the process where we do require work from a local authority, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we do try to get those agreements in place and work with our local authorities from a really early stage. So if you came to us in a pre-lodgement situation, right from day one we try to get your project team up and running, and we try to make sure that your project leader stays with you throughout the entire process, so that you have continuity, people understand your application and what needs to be done. And we manage the relationship between your proposal and the local authority, as I said. And one of the reasons for that is we need to ensure that there's a clear separation of roles and responsibilities. For example, we're all used to local authorities who are applicants and consenting authorities all in one. Well, if you look at our situation, we obviously play the role of the consenting authority, if you like, but we're also engaging the local authorities on a compulsory basis for some work, on a voluntary basis for others. But they also have the opportunity then to be a submitter into the process as well. So we need to create some good separation to make sure that whoever's working for us and the local authority isn't then having an advocacy role in the same group. But there seems to be, and we have done a lot of work with a working party from various local authorities around the country, and there's a good understanding of how that works. And we know that local authorities manage conflicts of interest every day. It's part of their business, so it works pretty well.